Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our next session. I am very excited for this one. I am here with my homie, Roxy Van Gundy. She's the director out of Lyon County Emergency Communications Center in Kansas, and her session is called Don't Build a Roof, Figuring Out Your Why and Where It Could Lead You. Take it away, my friend.
All right, guys. Well, hey, dare to be great. First off, let's sound off with what city, county, state that you're repping. Let me see you, Gold. Let me see where you're at. I love to see where we're hitting with Dare to be Great. So blow up those comments. Next, I want to just stop here and take a second to give some mad love to Ricardo. I tell this guy all the time how great he is and all he's doing for public safety and dispatching. And I don't always think he really understands how much he truly impacts this profession and so many people's lives. So, Ricardo, we dare to be great in large part to you, my friend. Don't ever forget that. You're a life changer. So, I see all of these counties coming in. Mitchell County, what's up? Iowa, Jasper, Alabama, Dade County, Missouri. Woo, DeKalb, Hutch Reno. Hey, Hutch Reno, what's up? All right, so let's get this party started. So this session is pretty personal. So I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit more. I'm Roxy. I have been in 911 for 16 years. I have worked in Kansas, which is where I started and where I currently work now, and also in Alaska. I have worked in city, county, and state-driven PSAPs, and I've also worked in every single position you can in an emergency communication center. So I see you, Gold, and I understand the work that you're doing, and I appreciate you at all levels. And I also believe in working the gamut of 911, that they're leaders in all positions in the center. So no matter what you do in 911 or in life, you're a leader. I'm also the proud director of a PSAP that I started in, which is kind of cool. Apparently people don't do that. But my center is full of 15 of the coolest individuals in the business. I know there are a couple people out there from my center, and thank you for all that you do. We're a small center, but we're mighty. And they are 15 of my reasons for being here and continuing to push forward even on the hard days. So like Ricardo said, my session's title is Don't Build a Roof, Finding Your Why and Where It Could Lead You. And it all started from this beautiful quote by the amazing Matthew McConaughey. God, he's so dreamy, girls, so dreamy. Those Lincoln commercials. When we truly latch on to the fact that we are going to die at some point in time, we have to have more presence in this one. Reach beyond your grasp, have immortal finish lines, turn your red light green, because a roof is a man-made thing. This quote was really spot on for me because before this happened, I really wasn't very present in my life. I was holding myself back every single day from being who I could be, from just being happy. Wait, stop the presses. Are dispatchers actually supposed to be happy? Whoa, that was kind of a revelation for me at the time. But this quote also reminds me that our presence in this world has to be huge, especially in 911, because the impacts of that are even more significant than we could ever imagine. We impact so much more in our profession than we ever realize. So we have to come at it in the boldest way possible. I was so silly and honestly, guys, frankly, just plain stupid for building limits around my potential as a person and as a dispatcher. I did the bare minimum at life, and that was really okay by me. I honestly didn't really care about the fact that I was limiting myself for a really long time. I used other things that weren't really so great to dull myself from realizing that my life wasn't exactly how I had imagined. I built roofs all around myself because I was too scared to lean into that discomfort of the unknown. I made myself small so no one could really see who I was or what my strengths were. And really, I didn't want them to. Building roofs over my potential kept me safe from failure, safe from criticism, safe from my own fears and anxiety, safe from all the things that hurt my heart. I wasted time and so many opportunities, guys. I walked past so many open doors in my life simply because I had no confidence to see where they went. My work, my friendships, heck, even my marriage suffered from it. And for a long time, I wasn't a very good person or a very nice person, and I didn't really care. I felt awful, and I feel awful currently for the way I acted during that time and how I treated myself during that time. I don't think I was necessarily that fair to myself. So this presentation could really be summed up in 11 simple words. People had to die in order for me to wake up. And that's a pretty raw thing for me to tell you, but we're all friends here, right? Dare to be great, family. I'm here in front of you today, mustering up the courage to give you this speech because people lost their lives. Because I think if they hadn't, I could very well be the same person that I was then. It took a tragedy to change me. It took their deaths for me to see that it was my time to do something better with my life. That I could indeed choose happiness and choose to live my life going another path. But the biggest lesson it showed me was that I didn't have infinite time on this earth. None of us do, guys. We only get so many trips around the sun, and yours and mine could stop tomorrow. Something to consider. Did I live the best way I could have today? Did I try all the things I could have? Did I make someone's life a little easier? Saying it's something I'm working on or it's something I'll get better at some days isn't a very good excuse anymore. As Simon Sinek once said, the why was born out of pain. And that's exactly what happened for me. All of my whys and the reason I had to change were born out of pain. About 9 years into dispatching, I realized maybe I wasn't exactly happy. I wasn't trained or raised in a center that had a ton of joy. I was a little fishy in a pond of really, really mean sharks. My co-trainee, Selena, who's in the audience today, and I were kicked to a shift that we had no business being on alone. Our co-workers, citizens, some of our partner agencies weren't very nice to us. And I almost quit a number of times in the beginning. I felt so alone and unsure of myself and unsupported. And those feelings turned into anger and numbness because that was the same standard operation in that center. Those feelings became my normal because I thought that's how we were supposed to be. Between the overtime, personal life issues, sleeping, more overtime, you all know how that goes. I don't know if I ever really stopped to think how I could be different. And if I'm being super real, and also with the help of a lot of expensive therapy, I don't know that I was ever really overly happy about the work that I did. I did it because I made a commitment to. I muddled through because nobody really taught me any differently in dispatch or in life. I was just happy to make it to the end of a 12-hour shift alive. And guys, that's not really a fulfilling way to navigate your career. I built roofs over my potential, my feelings, my emotions on calls, everything that I could because I was too scared to show any of that in my center. And like I said, I grew up in a much harder center than I manage now. We were way too busy to be normal humans. Kindness often took a back seat. And at the time, that was just normal. But it wasn't a place that I felt like for many years I could show who I was and who I could be. And 9 years is a tremendous amount of time to waste in your life. Today, I almost think about, I hate thinking about that because I gave up 9 years worth of time because I was too afraid to speak up. I was too unconfident about who I was and what I could do. And I was too self-absorbed to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. And looking back on it, I think I did come into dispatch excited to help people at first, but soon that really faded into the darkness. Being excited wasn't the popular thing when I first came on the scene. I was surrounded by pretty aggressive people, and being the sparkly new recruit wasn't really appreciated. And the sad part is that I let people change who I was and my why for being there. Don't do that. Be you. Be who you are. Be that sparkly person. And to think of me, the things that maybe could have been better in my center or in my state, or maybe between myself and my coworkers, had I just been brave enough to speak up, makes me really sad that I never tried. I just felt like I became this flat, unfeeling version of myself. I took the calls, I processed the calls, I did only the required amount. And it became almost a robotic dance that I did through the next 12 hours. In McConaughey's quote, he says that roofs are a man-made thing. And it took me a while to see that I had built a roof over my potential because I was too scared to see what could happen, that unknown. I did a job because I was good at it, because I was paid enough, and I never really thought further than that. I never allowed myself to define what my own success was. So I let others shove it down in me. And dispatch sometimes creates that culture of getting stuck. I see it all the time for a variety of reasons. In a profession that thrives on chaos and uncertainty, sometimes the only control that we have is to stay the course on what's expected. That expected is most often the bare minimum box that we remain planted in. It's hard to do more for so many reasons, both in the dispatch center and out. Doing the simple job requirements seem to be the only thing that we can control in an uncontrollable environment. But in staying the course and doing the same thing every day, we become jaded, we become disgruntled, even in small ways. I know that I did. You see folks daily on Facebook feeds. Why do something about the problem when it's just easier to complain about it? We see things that need to be changed. We know that maybe we can be the catalyst for that change, but it all seems to be too much, too overwhelming to even try to start and tackle. So we build a roof. That's as good as it gets. We're just going to leave it at that. And then something else happens. A bad call, a bad interaction with another responder or your coworker. Maybe something happens at home. And the circle of our disgruntled life comes back around to rear its head. And each time it gets a little uglier and a little angrier. And it builds and builds until we start to slowly unravel, or we actually explode. I think about that meme with the elderly Rose Dawson on the Titanic, where she's like, it's been 84 years. Because that's how it feels sometimes. Like years of your life stuck in one place. But why don't we change it? Well, for starters, we're tired. I don't know a dispatcher or administrator out there that isn't tired and doing the job of 2 or 3 people. We're soul-crushing tired sometimes. And who wants to change the world on 3 hours of sleep? Doing more feels daunting. It's just one more thing on our plate. And as the years go by, the harder it seems to be to want to get excited or motivated to cultivate change. Burnout, stress, trauma, all become heavier bricks that we keep adding to our backpack of life. Pushing yourself further to have bigger goals and dreams for yourself seems like a really good idea, but entirely out of reach. All of our lights are red with little hope of turning green. And for some of us, our red lights don't even come on anymore. As I said, that was me for a very long time. I was a sad, unhappy, barely getting by person until I hit a wall. People had to die in order for me to wake up. 2 of my coworkers, a trooper and a sergeant, and my friends had been murdered that year. I put their picture on the Dare to Be Great Discord channel so you can see what they look like. I want to say that if any of you out there have dealt with coworkers dying in the line of duty, I'm sorry for it now, and I'm sorry that it happened to you then. There's nothing in this world that makes you get more honest about how short life is, how sacred it is. And since we're sharing our feelings and being honest and open, it's one of the few things in my life that has rocked me to my very core. You don't forget the feeling of what it's like to have all the air be sucked out of your body. And for a very long time, I didn't want to admit that they had died. I just kept going, keeping that status quo. And I pretended that they were on some weird extended vacation and that they would return and they would laugh and say, guys, we're home. It's all a big mistake. That was a terrible joke. Please don't cry. But they never did. They never, ever came back. My friends went to a call in a remote village of Alaska, and they were shot in the line of duty. And they died for no other reason than standing in front of a man who didn't like the police. Hatred. That was the only reason. And I wish that I could say that there was something else, but it really wasn't. They were dead before they even knew what happened to them. They were hated by people who had no idea who they truly were. They responded to a home by airplane to discuss why the man had threatened the village public safety officer. They tried desperately to calm the situation before they were gunned down by the man who they were speaking with's son. Their audio recorders documented the whole incident. And I remember reading about the fact that after they were both shot, the recorder of my coworkers played for almost 30 more minutes after they had died. One of my coworkers used to tell us that the greatest thing that ever happened to him was being a dad. He loved being a dad. Both of them actually loved being dads. And he would sing to us in dispatch when we were having a bad day. He would make up songs about calls. They were hysterically funny. He created something called the gun belt dance. That's for a whole other Dare to Be Great. But it was so funny. His smile would light up a room. His smile was everything to everyone. Gabe, my friend, meant something to me, and he didn't deserve to die on a floor of a house that he didn't know, in a place that he didn't need to be, with people who didn't care about him. I'm sorry, guys. On the tape that you can hear the man and his son manipulating Gabe and my sergeant's body in such a way to say that they pulled the gun that they manipulated their bodies in such a way to try to say that Gabe and my sergeant pulled the gun on them. And guys, knowing that they touched them after shooting them makes me angrier than I can say. And that's something I still can't get over, that they touched them after they hurt them. And the recorder went on in silence as they left them lying on the floor. I think just the thought of hearing that silence and knowing that it was attached to Gabe broke my heart. It was a death that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemies. It's a death that obviously is still felt today. People had to die in order for me to wake up. And Gabe did everything he could to live his life to the fullest. I never met anyone, and I still have yet to meet anyone, who is that damn happy every single day. He loved his job, even on the worst days. It was his dream realized. And I always felt like he made everyone feel important and meaningful. I was never just a dispatcher on his shift. He asked for our opinions. I felt like I was an important part of the team. And he was the type of person who did the extra because his life was geared in service. Once I listened to him speak to a woman on the phone for 2 hours past his shift in because she was battling addiction and had thoughts of suicide. He told her several weeks prior that she could call if she ever felt like she needed to. He didn't want her to feel alone. When she called, he was there. He very well could have said, take a message, but he didn't. They ended the call laughing and him thanking her for calling him instead of doing something else. He chose happiness every single day. He was someone who didn't even realize the depth of the impact he had on others at all. He was completely oblivious to it. My sergeant was the same way. And after their death, I felt like that couldn't just be where their legacy stopped. Their story couldn't just end like that. During their funeral, someone gave a speech that said that the best way that we could honor our friends' lives was to live the way they would have, to finish what they started on earth, to care for others, to be kind, to lift all people up, because that's what they would have wanted. And that's true. That's exactly what they would have wanted. And it was the turning point that I needed to make a change. I didn't really like my life. I didn't like who I was as a person. I had all of this pent up frustration and anger that I didn't really know what to do with. I just knew that I didn't want to be unhappy anymore. I knew I wanted to be a better version of myself, and I knew I had something to offer. I had experiences to draw from, and I thought that those experiences could be used to help others. I'd seen and done a lot in dispatching, and maybe I could make it easier for someone else. I could take all of those things and use them for good. I thought about my friends. I thought about their lives, who they were, who they used their job, or they used their job as a vehicle to better other people's lives and the citizens that they served, their coworkers, and themselves. They used their job as a vehicle to make positive changes in this world. And I realized that my why needed to change if I was ever going to stay in 911. I had to get gazelle-like focus on what my priorities were. And if I planned on honoring my friends, I needed to get my shit together right now. If I wanted to use my job to create positive change, I needed to get myself together and do it right now. Craig Groeschel said that the pathway to your greatest potential is straight through your greatest fears. I was scared, but I had to step right into my fear to move forward. Lean into that uncomfortable feeling in my life that my life had to take a turn. That day and every day after, I took the step forward into something better for my friends. Changing your thought process on life and in general is not easy. Unconfidence, fear, anxiety, it doesn't change overnight. It's small steps. It's being patient. It's every day choosing to be better. It's remembering that it's okay to have bad days or say the wrong thing or do whatever, but we can't live there. It's having grace. It's finding those doors to be an encourager, to be a leader, and to love yourself. And soon that fictitious roof you've spent so long maintaining starts to fly away. Your whys become the foundation for your everyday life. I don't want anyone to have to change the way I did. It took several actually terrible, heartbreaking, mentally exhausting events to really change my outlook and to really change my thinking on life. Like I said, my why changed because of my friends, so their legacy would not be lost. And I'm here today with you because of them. I owe everything that I have now to Gabe and to my sergeant. I survived because of them. People had to die in order for me to wake up. And I decided my first step in changing my whys was to stop saying no and to start saying yes. Experiences lead to growth and development. And when the I can't, I'm not smart enough, I don't have time, it's too scary, it's too hard start to come up, I just remember to say yes. A wise person once told me that saying you don't have time is disrespectful. We all get the same amount of time every day. Just most of us choose to squander it. Just say yes, and everything will work out the way it's intended to. If you keep moving straight ahead, you can't go wrong. Letting go of your fear, the control, and just slowly moving forward, all of those red lights in my life started to become green. And you're probably wondering by now, you've stuck it out this long, Roxy, where do I start finding my why? Well, start asking a lot of questions. Where do you want to be right now? Are you doing what you want to be doing right now? And if you aren't, then what's blocking you from being where you want to be? That's the crucial question, guys, the root of the why. If you aren't happy, then why is that? If you aren't doing what you want to do right now, what's holding you back? Develop your whys from those questions. Maybe your why is building people up in dispatch because you weren't. Maybe your why is training because you love to see people connect the dots with what they're supposed to be doing. Maybe your why is at home and it's your kids. For me, it's my dog, Buddy the Wonder Dog. Maybe it's making your kids' lives better. Maybe that's what makes you happy. And this is also a really great time to consider what your interests are. I think sometimes in dispatch, we forget about what our interests are outside of work. What drives you? What gets you excited to get up in the morning and then go do that? What are your blind spots? That's something else to consider. What the heck are blind spots, Roxy? Well, a blind spot is something evident to everyone around you that you don't necessarily see. I was once told that I use my hands more than Rachel shake them, and I had no idea I did that before I asked, but blind spots. But asking about what your blind spots are is a great way to also do a check-in on your attitude. How are you treating those people around you or in your center? Are you a good partner? Are you a mean partner? Using these blind spots to start figuring out what's important to you and help you build the person that you want to be. How do you want to be perceived versus how you actually are? Remember, others' perception is reality. Fixing those blind spots can also help you achieve those BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals that you've never seemed to be able to get close to. Perhaps you have roadblocks that you never really realized were in your way. Are you looking to be promoted? Maybe you're doing something that you don't realize that's hindering your success. Ask those tough questions. But pro tip, don't ask your coworker or your spouse what your blind spots are. Chances are it will lead to awkwardness or a fight with somebody who isn't really willing to tell you the whole truth because they don't think you want to hear about it from them. It's a tricky question, and it's one you need to have an honest answer about. Ask someone you trust that's seen all versions of yourself and still love you anyway. My best friend once told me that she felt for a long time that I was very cold and unfriendly. I never intended to be like that at all. But apparently my RBF extended far past my face. I thought about that for a long time and realized I was pretty lonely for many years in my dispatch center. I didn't feel like there were many outlets for people to talk, and I didn't really want to talk to people in my center, so I just kept quiet. I didn't really reach out to people because when I did, I got burned. And I never really realized that all of that was projecting on my really beautiful face. But the great thing now is that there are tons of avenues for us to have outside of our center to talk to other people and gain perspectives. You just have to seek them out. It was a really easy fix for me and became the foundation of my whys in the dispatch center. I never want anyone else to feel alone. I never want someone out in my state to feel alone. When I see an opening to get to know someone new, to encourage someone, to advocate for someone, to praise them, I do it. because you never know how those small gestures, what they could do for someone else. It could be a catalyst for them to discover what's important to them. And in doing it, it does so much for me. It lifts both people in the process. The next question to consider is, what makes you come to life? I asked this question earlier, but I really want you to think about it. What is your passion? What legacy do you want to be known for in life? Because remember, guys, life can be gone in an instant. There's this excellent quote by Nelson Mandela that reads, "There's no passion to be found playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living." Write that down. Nelson Mandela. When you're working to figure out your purpose, there's zero room for you to be playing small. The goal is to keep reaching beyond your grasp. You can always keep reaching for more. Blow the roof off of the place and fly, guys. For me, it's people. When I get to talking about people and how to make the lives of dispatchers in my center, in my state, and in this nation better, I get jacked up. The push for first responder designation in our state and federally, the mental health and wellness of our 911 heroes gets me so in the zone, because there are causes that will further the lives of 911 dispatchers across the state or across the nation. We can't just help ourselves. We have to band together to help everyone. Mental health and wellness means so much to me because I've lived through mental health issues that stemmed from my time in the center. Talking to you about them helps me work through them and hopefully gives others space when they are ready to talk about their struggles too. I want to shine a light for those who are still in the dark. And I never want one person to struggle how I did. And I never want one person to feel unsupported. And if there's one thing that really sets me on fire, it's that right there. I truly believe that God put me on this earth for that purpose. Also, teaching and mentoring are things that I love to do. I know in the comments there's several amazing trainers and teachers and mentors that you all can reach out to. And I love seeing the light that happens in someone's eyes after they've understood something that I've taught them. Or that breath someone takes when they realize that they have a cheerleader in their corner. That right there, guys, that's what gets me up in the morning. So what are you passionate about? What moves you? What gets you pumped up in the dispatch center? Is morale your thing? Do you enjoy making people happy? What gives you those sparkly feelings again? What makes confetti shoot out of your fingers? And guys, just because this is a dispatch conference and we're all mostly dispatchers, it doesn't mean that what makes you come to life has to be work related. It could be a hobby, it could be working out, it could literally be doing anything. I love to take pictures and I haven't done it in a really long time. And I've just started to get back out there and do it because it makes me happy. Do something you love outside of work. Because if you're happy outside of work, that happiness is going to follow you in the seat. And maybe you find that what you love is beyond the dispatch center. And maybe it's time to say goodbye. And it's okay to decide that your time behind the mic is over. And it's time. That's okay too. Remember, we have to make all of our trips around the sun count. Another question to consider is, what are your strengths? When you're in your element, you will be more productive and have the ability to add additional value and fulfillment to what you're doing. You're going to add more value when you're feeling productive. What are you good at? Are you creative? Are you an out-of-the-box thinker? Are you someone who's a problem solver? Are you the quiet encourager? I really enjoy getting to know folks and who they are, figuring out what their stories are, learning about those you interact with. It's just crucial for building relationships and trust. I love to peel back with the onion and kind of figure out what makes people tick. I love to understand people's stories. And relatability to people is something that I feel like I thrive in. I'm somewhat creative, and I love to build relationships with others. Your strengths can be a core foundation of what you develop as your why. Where do you add the greatest value? That's another thing to consider. After coming to terms with my mental health and seeing the shortcomings of how my PSAPs responded, I felt like I had something to offer in this area, even if it was just by telling my story so that others didn't feel so alone. I also come from a very small town, Marion County. If you're out there, say something in the comments. And I felt like sometimes small PSAPs aren't always advocated in the mental health arena. A lot of small counties here are oversaw by the sheriff. And while sheriffs are amazing, they don't always understand the mental health impacts to dispatchers in their centers. And I was seeing far too many dispatchers saying, I had this critical event, something happened, and no one asked me if I was okay. Nobody asked me to go to a debrief. Nobody even talked to me about anything. And so my passion for mental health grew from those experiences. I didn't know how I could contribute to that in a valuable way, but I kept putting my experiences on social media. I kept trying to connect with some smaller centers in my state. My 911 center started highlighting a lot of mental health and impacts to dispatchers on our social media. And my hope was that maybe I was reaching somebody who needed to hear that they weren't alone. And doing that led me to be introduced to some mental health heroes in 911, which then led me to become the chair of Nina's Wellness Committee. And although that was really scary, I just kept saying yes. Oh, Linda, Marion County in the house. I just kept saying yes and walking through doors instead of building roofs. And in doing that, I turned a red light green and started genuinely working on something that I loved and using 911 as the vehicle to do that. So when considering some of these questions, remember something else. It doesn't matter what size your PSAP is. It doesn't matter what your past was. It doesn't matter if you work the front line or you work in the office. You, yes, you, my friends, have something valuable and actionable to contribute to the success and the evolution of 911. Don't be intimidated. Your perspective matters, and it's needed on a national level. We have to get laser focused intensity on what we want this profession to be for us, and that includes you. If something becomes your why and that you're genuinely passionate about and you don't know how to get involved in it, find a way. Ask someone. Be brave enough to ask and reach out. Nina and APCO have tons of members who are waiting to sign you up to help out. Getting into a work group nationally is a great way to champion what your why is, and it takes your impact from your center out into the world. If it's a cause outside of the 911 arena, ask about how you can get on a board or a volunteer group. As I said before, if you find something you love outside of work, it's going to help you at work. Those whys bleed over into so many other positive things. And if you're looking to grow as a leader, go and do that. What are you waiting for? Take EMP, take the RPL, take CPE. There's so many scholarship opportunities out there for you if you can't afford it. The support is out there. Another thing for you to go and do is go to the Nina mentorship page and obtain a mentor. These seasoned 911 professionals can answer questions and guide you through this process. There are so many people out there who want to help you be the best that you can be. Rural dispatchers, administrators, leaders, badasses, you matter. Advocate for yourself and your leadership. Go to your sheriffs, your chiefs, who listen to you and say, being a part of this board or committee or me taking this course is important for my growth. It's important for our center. Do whatever you can to be involved. And I hear Well, I don't have time for that. Remember, we all get the same amount of time. And how do you know unless you ask somebody? That's how all of this started for me. I got involved. I asked the amazingly awesome Becky Snook what time investment it might be for me to join Nina. And so often it's such a small time investment for what you get back and the growth that you get. And you can do it from the front line. Be the boots on the ground that these committees and boards need to hear. And in closing, guys, remember the race is it's never over. Your growth journey to finding your why and your purpose never ends because you're always on your way. Things will evolve, things will change, you're going to stumble. And if you go into every day just simply trying to be better, then you're already winning. And as Glennon Doyle says, and I'm going to translate this loosely, just go be a damn cheetah. Go get it. And use 911 as that vehicle. Use it as a way to minister to others, all while doing the job that you love. There's so much out there for everyone to take advantage of. Maybe there's something out there that we haven't thought of yet. 911 is limitless. Use your voice to help those voices that can't be heard. Remember, you control the limits and the roofs that you build on top of yourself. Refuse to build them. Just say yes. Believe in possibilities. Say yes to yourself. Say yes to your dreams. Just always say yes. Thank you guys so much. Let's push Ricardo for Dare to Be Great 4. I think that needs to be a thing. I had to plug it.
Oh, man. A lot of people were putting it out there. I think it was Jeremy who was putting out there Dare to Be Great 4, A New Hope, like Star Wars.
Yes, it has to happen.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for being on and sharing this powerful story. You know, as you could see in the comments, everyone is just loving everything that you had to say. You know, just so authentic in the story that you're sharing. And thank you for showing, you know, this side, for being, you know, vulnerable and just really putting yourself out there for everyone else to learn from. And because, you know, there might be some out there who are dealing with the same thing, you know, and people don't know how to open up or how to share or who to share with. And that's what I love about this whole community that we have, is that, you know, we are a big family, and we just need to sometimes open up and really just let go to those who know where we come from.
Yes. And I think that something to remember is that all of our center structures are not the same. Mm-hmm. You know, the social makeup of how my center works is not the same as how it works in other places. So I just want to be that person to say, hey, I'm Roxy, and I'm happy to be your friend, and we may not know each other yet, but I will be that person for you, because nobody was that person for me. So,
and that's another thing right there too. Just what you said just now. It seems like it's been like that. You know, kind of the theme a little bit throughout all of this too is that we have all gone through some shit and those experiences, and we don't want others to go through that, which is why we're sharing, which is why, you know, we continue to strive for more and move forward, so that those that are coming in won't have those struggles. They'll be able to learn from us, and if they do end up going through it, they'll have a resource, right?
Yeah.
They'll have something to look at instead of feeling lost.
And I think that is homegrown peer support, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's the evolution of where our culture and where our profession needs to go, that homegrown peer support. Because I think we spent too long in, we're dispatchers and we're not friendly and we're going to do the job and robot. You know, we've got to start reaching out, because we're not going to be successful at 911 unless we're all successful together. So, you know, we got to do it together.
Perfect. Well, so for everyone who is here in the audience and everything, Roxy is also part of the Discord community. You can join there, and speakers have been jumping in and out of the channel there, the Dare to Be Great channel, and just sharing so many different things, insights, connecting further, and so much more. So thank you so much again for sharing your story and just being willing to put it out there for others to learn from. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Ricardo. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
And we had some fun in the green room.
Yeah.
Some of the there's also actually some bloopers. So tonight for After the Greatness, which is also going to be combined with Open Mic Live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, you'll get to see some of those. So those who are watching, make sure to check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, thank you. And then coming up at 11:15 a.m. Eastern Time is going to be Josh Fonseca. He is an instructor with the Denise Amber Lee Foundation, and he's going to be doing a session called Face That Fire, A Journey After Traumatic Events. We will see you in the next one. Roxy, thank you again. You're amazing.
Bye, guys.